Hey Gems, it's Jazzology Styles, but you could just call me Jazz. So I am creating this soul diary because similar to myself, I know a lot of people that been through stuff. Probably I want to say since like 2019, 2020, life just ain't been the same. Life has not been the same. I'm sure people like me have had to go through a lot of stuff, shared a lot of things, changed a lot of things about yourself, about your surroundings, all those things. But it's been such an isolated situation. I think COVID is such a number on everybody that it made it hard to kind of like relate to people because you were so isolated. So many of us was going through stuff similar that we didn't realize how many people could relate to us, and it created such an isolated space that I felt like once we could get out of isolation and nobody really knew how to adapt back. Like you had to kind of relearn how to exist or just deal with people and just be social and all those things, right? Um I found myself going through some really strange events ultimately that led me to this point in my life. But I can't give it all out at one time. That's why I'm like, you know what? I want to just make a journal. A journal that's digital because I can go back and look at it, right? It's beneficial to other people. Um, I felt like I would feel better because writing it sometimes I just can't get it out. Or I'm just like stagnated about writing it. I don't know. But I felt like digitally I could just word vomit it and just get it out and be heard, just get it out my chest, you know what I mean? And I could also reflect back and look at it or whatever. So here I am, transparent. And yeah, I just felt like it was due time. Like it's time. I need to put it out there how I've been feeling, what is going on, because it's a lot of people who can relate, you know what I mean? So ultimately, I've been like in my own little bubble now. Okay. When you go through some pretty challenging stuff and you don't have people supporting you how you're supposed to, it kind of makes you withdraw. It makes you just withdraw and just isolate yourself because that's what essentially worked better for you, or that's what is conducive to your healing or whatever. So, being a mom of girls already, being in the medical field, you be having to prioritize work when you work in the medical field a lot. And my youngest daughter, y'all, she was born dying. I don't know if I could say that. She was born, deteriorating. And it made it really, really hard because I did not know, but I knew she looked like she like an alcoholic at 3 months. And at 3 months, you shouldn't look like that. Your jaundice is usually there when you first born. So I knew something was wrong. I knew that's liver failure. It was very scary. But the day I found out what was wrong with my daughter, I ultimately never left the hospital. And that lasted a year. And I would sporadically go home, check on my kids and things like that. But ultimately that took a toll. Like that took a real big toll on me or whatever. So yeah, I lost my job. June 2019, I literally got the rug snatched from beneath me. What comfort and stability I thought I was building for myself, wiped out, completely gone, like overnight. I lost my job standing next to my daughter's bedside, making sure she stayed alive, making sure I was there to know what was going on with her. I just couldn't fathom working in the medical field and then not being beside my own person. Like, I'm going to help all these other people and not help my own child. And mind you, she wasn't even one, okay? We just had her in February, and I turned around. It was within that 3 months. She was already in the hospital. So, all of this stuff snowballed into the growth that I had to go through. But it took having that happen to my daughter and me going through that because COVID made me so isolated. You isolated already due to COVID, but being in a hospital setting, it makes you that much more isolated because you can't have a lot of people there. Once you were there, a lot of times you could not leave because you couldn't be bringing germs back and forth. She was highly immunocompromised, clearly needing a transplant. So I was left alone a lot. At the time, I had a couple of village folk, helped out with the essential necessities, which is greatly appreciated. But I had no one, if that makes sense. Sometimes people come in your life and they there for they're there for to be a supporter, but not of you, if that makes sense. Support circumstances, like my children, things like that, making sure there was some balance. So there was never belittling to the help I've received because I'm highly appreciative because it could be nothing and no one. But the reality was I came to this understanding after all of this stuff didn't happen that the people who were in my life ultimately I realized was not there for me. A lot of people had never been there for me. It was only once my children came into play that people somewhat would show up. You know what I mean? But again, this wasn't with me in mind. It'd be like, how your kids doing, checking on your kids, which is phenomenal. But I didn't have anyone. I did not have a support system. There was no one for me to really go to. There was no one strong who wanted to be there to support and make sure my head is on right. I battled not being here often. Especially when my daughter flatlined in my arms. Like, I watched her gloss over, and I'm looking at her like, and no, nothing's happening. Nothing was happening. I'm checking everything. Nothing was happening. And I knew, and I had to get help and call Cold Blue and all these things. I watched her come back. God be the glory. I watched her come back. That was pretty life-changing. I've seen other people go. I've been through some pretty interesting stuff in my life. I've seen other people go. But to see my daughter go, to see her go, and to realize what just had happened, that was the most traumatic shit I ever had happen in my life, to say the least. And again, having to be a strong person, as I've always been, even then in that moment when I felt like I could break, there was still this sense of like never completely being able to, if that makes sense. Because who was going to pick up the pieces? If you break, who going to be there? You know what I mean? So, fast forward. She gets transplanted. It makes things a lot better. You know what I mean? But throughout all that process, y'all, you would think there was like a co-parenting dynamic or something. No. I actually had a partner, I actually thought I had a partner. That partner was the most narcissistic person I had ever experienced in my life. At least I thought. We'll get to that later. But this person watched me go through so much. I mean, my daughter went through the most. As you can imagine, she was 3 months with all these surgeries. She's had multiple surgeries that happened before the actual transplant happened. There have been times when she was like soiled in her own blood from it coming from her abdomen, as if she were a grown woman. You know what I mean? Like Mother Nature's coming and she's a infant, okay? And not having support. Imagine freaking out. Your kid is, you don't know where it's coming from. You're freaking out, and the person who should be the parent with you is swiping through Instagram, okay? Is not really relevant to the situation, not present, not there, not even caring that the kid that you created is declining right before your eyes. A nurse had to say like, hey, you gonna get off your phone? You gonna help out? You gonna check in and try to help mom? You wanna try to grab the sheets, help change the bed? It's crazy. I watched people who were meant to be your greatest supporters, or at least I thought they should be. Let's say that, because they weren't meant to be. They should have been my greatest supporters. We're not. I was seeking so much protection and understanding and like support and advocacy from people all my life who were very in close proximity. They were in such close proximity and never gave a to help. No protection, no guidance. So everything I had to experience in life, I had to navigate and figure out myself. How to not just circle the drain and be depressed about what circumstances are existing, because no one's coming to rescue you. There's not any saving grace that's coming. And this has started since I was a child. Since the first time an SA, took place as young as 8 years old. Can you imagine that? And as I said, the first. So when you've not been protected since you were tiny, as you become an adult, you don't really expect anything different. You know what I mean? Although you want it and you hope that it will transpire. I ultimately realized, like, between my past situations and then going into the current ones that I had that were so traumatic, I came to the conclusion I was my saving grace. And I had always been, with the gift of God and Spirit guiding me, and Archangel Michael watching and guiding my footsteps. I never knew it. I felt like, having never been protected with all those situations traumatically happening, I just knew it would come a time. And the time came when I gave my life to God. And I prayed to God and I asked God for clarity, concise help, understanding, and my life changed. And he chose me. I appreciate y'all. Until next time.